you know. But that's I love what I do. I love where we're going with all this, and contributing to society, and like you and I are disruptors, and we're disrupting. We're not disrupting as much as maybe people make people think or maybe rethink. So sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, when I look at all the work that you've done, it is simply amazing. Like all the information you're giving. I've been to, I think, a few of your meetings, like when you're
Events.
when you're
Uh-huh.
when you're dropping
Events.
that. So events. So it is absolutely fantastic to see the work that you're doing. So let me ask you, I guess my first question is,
Please.
what is it that you want to see happen with all the work that you're doing?
Oh, my goodness. The $1 million question. So I do, this is my business. This is not a hobby, right? I do this day in and day out, 6 days a week. Um, and what I see is women pain, men confused, and vice versa. And and I understand why, because the culture and the I call it the tidal wave in our culture is all about empowering women and disempowering men, right? Like soften the man so they're not so dangerous because men are dangerous. No, no, boys are dangerous. Men are not. Men protect you all from these boys, right? So there's a misunderstanding of this. So if we soften the man and empower the women, we have equal playing fields. It's a more fair game. It's a more fair world. We all get to be participating equally. And honestly, in the name of business and money, that works. In the realm of relationships, it's my field. It's the kiss of death. It's exactly what doesn't work because it flies in the face of nature. Again, everything I teach, this, I teach everything. It's not my opinion. It's nature, science, the biology of our bodies and our brain that makes us act differently. There's a reason why we're very different on purpose. That's the point. Anthropology and psychology. These are like, so it's a cocktail of putting all this together to decode the human condition and what works best. So what works best is not what's out there now. And 50-50 in the world of money is fantastic. In the world of relationship, again, you depolarize the dynamic and it goes flat and people stop having fun, stop having sex, stop connecting, stop energizing each other in the polarity that's natural, and they wonder why, it seems to, they feel it, they always say stuff like, we kind of drifted apart. I go, no, you neutralize each other's dynamic. That's how you drift apart. Oof, I could do this all day long. So thank you. That's an opening
No, just
question.
let's yeah, let's do it all day long because I see that with a lot of the women I work with, they're like how there's one person, because you and I, we love to share examples and stories, right? So
Yeah,
there's one
yeah, yeah, yeah.
person, and she was like, you know what, Terrain, I'm paying his bills and taking care of him. He's borrowing my car. He's in
Oh,
between jobs. And I asked her the
oh.
question. I was like, do you have any children? She's like, yeah, you know what, I have a son. I was like, well, you have two. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, he is your child.
Yep,
And I asked her, I
yep.
was like, what is the difference between excluding sex, the intimacy? Because I'm hoping no one's having sex with their children, but some people do. But
Right.
excluding the intimacy with your child, I asked her, is there significant differences between the person that you're with and your child? And she was like, I do his laundry. Sometimes I give him money. I cook. He takes my car. I was like, you put him through school. You
Yep,
wipe his ass. You do all these things. So
yep.
why do you think women get caught up in these type of relationships? And when they do get caught up, Andre, they just don't see what you and I or maybe other people see.
Right, right. Okay, so, ooh, that's a good question. So get this. Um, you understand that being male is to be single focused. We do one thing at a time. We have the ability to focus hard on things. Naturally, we don't get distracted by things when we're focused on something else. So that's just an operating system. For the ladies, they're multitaskers. They could do 8 things at one time. We can't. And it's pretty amazing. But again, it's a paradigm of coming together, which she does best. Her strengths are different than our strengths, right? So what I've noticed is when women have been traumatized, and again, we're all traumatized at some level in childhood, right? Nobody gets out unscathed. But the women who didn't have a good father or a bad father or missing father, alcohol, you name it, right? Missing or like a man who was not present enough or good enough to make a little girl feel safe, she literally ends up having to protect herself at the age of 5 forward, typically, right? So she becomes her own protector, her own man, right? Which this allows her from growing to her feminine naturally. So on the other side of a poor childhood, a lot of women come out masculine, controlling, combative, competitive, right? All these traits that they need to survive. It's a mechanism, not their fault. But what happens in that, because they're still women, and the ability to be hyper vigilant as far as like, especially when they're, if they can't release control because they're stuck in the masculine, but they have all the paradigm of nurturing and being aware of everything, doing 8 things at the same times. Basically, their instinct, their nurturing instinct becomes on steroids. And these women provide, protect, give, cherish, nurture, babysit, kiss ass, right? Like take care of everything and everyone because they're masculine, but that their innate, nurturing ability, instinct will take him to the hill. So they take care of everyone, they take care of everything. Part of that comes in, and it's pretty sneaky, is because they're so bent on controlling everything that they control everything. So if he does the dishes, he's going to do it wrong. So I might as well do it myself. He's the laundry, he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to fold it right. So I'm going to do it myself. Like they end up taking all on because they can't release control, which kills them. And so they literally ended up taking all the space, and eventually, soon enough, and this is what I get every day, eventually they get exhausted, they're burnt out, right? They don't want to really relinquish control, so they don't ask for help, they don't need help, they think that's weak, right? They go, provide, and they become super women, but they're not wired and built for that to sustain that. And what happens is if you're combative with your husband, because he's not going to do it right. I can tell you stories to make your hair this curly about stupid shit that people get in fights about over, like literally for no reason. Um, but if you're combative with your husband, if you need to control everything, that he's not doing it right, and you roll your eyes and you go, "Never mind, I'll do it myself," right? He's gonna give up, right? As men don't want to fight with their wives. Men don't. We're not wired to fight with women. We're wired to protect them. But if you keep attacking me, I'm just going to step back, right? Just to keep the peace. That's a mistake a lot of men make. They want to keep the peace. So sure, babe, whatever you say, babe, whatever, you know what I mean? And they don't understand that basically turns you, the husband, into another child. And women will actually say this out loud. I don't have 2 babies, I have 3. He's number 3. And this is when we know everything's upside down, right? So, and that sexuality is out the window. Nobody's having sex. Nobody's having sex with their mother energetically or their son. So that, and then women get more stressed out, more anxious, more overwhelmed, more miserable, more unhappy, and nobody's helping. Nobody's ever helping, and they're resentful. But it's a mechanism that happened from childhood. Oh, does that make it? Are you there? Did I
Yeah,
get it?
I am definitely here, and that makes a lot of sense because you look at it and you're saying that a woman who is should be in her feminine energy is now in her masculine energy, and she's not going to go
Hmm.
look for a masculine man. She's going to look for a man that is more so in his feminine energy. So what does that
Yeah.
look like? That looks like someone who's always needy. I need you. I need you. And I think what a lot of women don't understand is that it's backwards. You're not supposed to be doing that for the man, but there's men out there, as we call them, boys or city boys, that are like, she's gonna pay my rent, she's gonna lend me my car, she's gonna wipe my ass, she's gonna do my groceries, she's gonna do my laundry. I've hit the jackpot. Where other
Mm.
men are like, get off the sofa, put on pants, wash your face, be a
Right.
man, right? Like, how important is it for other men to maybe step in and create that community and make sure that boys become men instead of men becoming boys?
Well, it's a very good question. It's a very simple answer. We have to bring men back into the formula, right? Most of the boys, because in my world there's 4 types of men. So the boys are men who never grew up, and these are the women, these are the men, the women who are masculine attract, because he's feminine and she's masculine. So the polarity works, but it's backwards, and it's very abusive for her, and he gets to hit the jackpot because he doesn't have to do anything. We call it the Peter Pan and Wendy syndrome as well. Peter Pan and Wendy. Peter Pan didn't want to grow up. Wendy did what? So a Wendy temperament woman is masculine, is a woman who cannot stand to see her man in pain and discomfort. Again, over nurture, will pay for him, will push him, will, let her move into her house when they're just dating. He's driving her car because he can't fix his piece of crap. He keeps getting fired because his boss is a douchebag, and it's all feminine, it's all soft, it's all like about comfort, which is a feminine trait the men who hold it and live there are basically noodles, right? But they attract Wendy's. If you're a Wendy or a masculine woman, you will only, again, that's nature, polarity is natural. You would only attract those boys. And you'll think that's men, and you resent men. And these are the women you hear say men aren't shit, right? They're toxic, they don't do anything, right? They'll cheat on you. Of course, a boy will cheat on you because you're his mother. He's not sleeping with you. Right, like da 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 da. So that's the mechanism. So what we need is to bring men and masculinity back in our culture to raise men, because only a good man can raise a boy into manhood appropriately. You understand that there's honor, integrity, accountability, right? Using your masculine strength appropriately is all something that boys have to learn from an accountable mentor man. Hopefully his dad, but if not, right, an uncle, a grandfather, any team sport will have a coach that holds boys accountable in the realm of where they, you know what I mean? So boys need role models. Like women also need role models to be feminine, but some of them don't have that because mom's mama bear because she has no husband. And no father means mama bear is mama bear. She's masculine. The little girl role models after mom, right? And the other syndrome is mama bear, no father in the household to make anybody feel safe. She's the man. She's providing. She's protecting the children, and overprotects the children. And the boys typically end up having the butt wiped by mom the whole time, right? She's overly nurturing, and sometimes I hear women speak for their sons, right? Oh, Tommy doesn't like that. Goes to a school teacher and doesn't like when you talk to him that way. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, get Tommy to go fight his own battles, right? So, but over mothering makes boys weak. And these are the guys who decide, it's interesting because psychologically, is by the age of about 13, when they've had to oh, we call it a helicopter mom or a masculine mom or a mama bear mom who does everything for him all the time. Instead of realizing they have to man up in the world to be able to be valuable and attract women and take care of people, they think women are here to serve them at 13. And that becomes their track. They're narcissistic. It's all about them. And, and, it's your job to pay to make him comfortable. He's going to be the guy that says, go girl, get that promotion while he's spooning the dog on the couch smoking a joint. Oof, did I do off? Did I
Yeah,
just go off?
no, no, yeah, that's what I want, right? Like it's scary to see, and it's scary to hear these stories. Like I hear from actually, I'll give you a man's perspective. So there's a man, he was dating someone, and then it came up
Mhm.
about their past relationships, and the woman that he was dating, he would hear these stories. She bought this, she did that, she did this, she did that, and he's sitting there thinking, I'm giving more to get less. But a lot of men may think that, right? Where they're being honorable, they're being who a lot of men are supposed to be, right?
Yep.
And then they're looking at this person's past and they're like, wait a minute, how is it that this person is getting what I'm getting, similar outcome, and they gave less, right? And then
Hmm.
some men will become frustrated, annoyed. Like, you know what? If I can mistreat her and still get what I'm getting now, why would I treat her better? Like, what do you say to the men who are like, you know what? Why should I give more when she's been giving exactly the same thing for less?
What was happening is they're kind of, it's a man on man energy here. Do you know what I mean? So men are givers naturally. We provide, protect, give, support, lead everyone, everything that needs support and leadership, right? Women first, children, animals, the planet, you name it, right? That's the paradigm of being masculine. So when a woman is in her masculine, right, the colliding comes in where she won't let him. She won't let him or she'll be combative, or she'll say, no, that's not the way I want it. I've had couples literally get divorced because of how he wanted to discipline the kids and how she thought his ways were unacceptable. And we're not talking about like enormous stuff, right? But like her way, she dug her heels in the way that she refused to follow his leadership, even though what I mean, he's the father, he's paying for everything. So that that inner battle, right? He's like, when I was my last girlfriend before I was married, went through the ringer, had a couple of bad relationships, one that was long, 11 years, and he cheated on her the whole time, whatever. She was all kinds of traumatized. I get it. But she was a redhead. As a young girl, she was bullied in school all the time for being a redhead. They used to make fun of her, like, red pubes in the dressing rooms. Do you know what I mean? Like ridiculous stuff, but as a child, right? It's upsetting. So we talked about having a kid. I says, if we get married, and I don't know how they came up, but she talked about at one point I said, I'm Catholic and I'm not circumcised. And that's back in the days, my parents were very, very adamant about this stuff. There's a reason for that skin. We don't take anything God's design, we don't mess with it. Like no, right? Against the grain. So thank you, Dad. By the way, my dad stood up for us that way. There's five boys in my family. So she's like, oh, hell no, my kid's gonna get circumcised as soon as we I'm like, my kid's not gonna, you're not gonna circumcise my boy. Yes, I will, because I don't want him to get bullied like I did. And like, all of a sudden we're fighting over like an idea of a child, male child, sometimes in the future, right? Full but she like dug her heels, like, and I remember thinking, shit ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. You don't get to control me or my choice, especially my boy's penis. That ain't gonna happen, right? So the combativeness in that, right? When a woman is self-righteous, decides she knows better, right? She can't follow the leadership. She's not supporting the leadership. She's against it. It falls apart. Did I answer the question?
You did. You did.
Oh.
Because it is a battle between the two. Like I look at, let's say, dancers, right? And I know that
My
you have
world.
dancing, your wife, and you could probably speak on this as well. One person leads, the other
Mhm.
person goes along with it, right? And the reason
Mhm.
why I love that is because you see the harmony, you see the cohesion. But when you look at like a relationship, if one person's trying to lead, the other person's trying to lead, they could both end up on the floor. In some cases, maybe even fighting each other. Like, hey, go this way. No, let's go this way. Like the worst thing is like when you see it in a car, right? Like I told
Yep.
you to turn left. You're supposed to turn right. Like you have your mind, the GPS, and the other person. How can you have harmony in that car? Like how does then someone who's new in a relationship
Yep.
identify what would be considered healthy communication versus what is considered to be unhealthy communication?
All right. Well, again, go back. We have to go back to nature. You talk about dancing, which is fantastic because that's the metaphors that I use for the metaphor with dancing are the perfectly, fantastically fit the metaphors of building healthy relationships, because that's what I'm up to. So in dancing, right? So I don't know if yes, do we have visual on this podcast? Right. So look, this is my wife and I ballroom dancing. Nothing about that is equality at all, right? We're yin yang, but come together. So me as a male, her as a female, coming together to create what we call the dance, right? You could call that a relationship, right? How do we get in flow? Because we see ballroom dancers go, right? Like, have you ever seen ballroom dancers flow on the floor? It's like magical, right? They're so in sync. They're so together. They're not talking yet. They're communicating to a finite minute level you can't imagine, right? Like nobody's talking, but they're communicating with the fingertips, with energy, with responding, with pushing, with pulling gently for her to anyway. So in dancing, I'm the male, so I lead, right? My wife is ballerina, still is. So a ballerina is in charge of her own body. So when you try to take a ballerina, it's interesting. When you try to take a dancer in your arms for ballroom dancing, there's a lot of battling because they're used to being independent on their own, moving their bodies per according, right? So when it was very hard for my wife to let go of leading or trying to help me lead her. Because if you're trying to help me lead, I get the elbow to the face and a bloody nose or the knee